What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Below the Rim podcast. First member of your starting five here, Jacob Lieb, will be your host here today and every day. Nice to talk to you all again. Rounding out the rest of the starting four here this evening, we got Brian, Ian, and Michael. Fellas, how are we all doing?
I'm great. I mean, I'm just checking the scores here, and the Bulls beat the Pistons, so it's a good day. You know, it could be worse.
Yeah, I happened to catch some of the game, and it does remind you that when Zach Lavine plays basketball, he's a pretty good basketball player. Like,
he's still good. He still can.
He had a couple of yams on various different Pistons that it's just like, guy flies. When he's healthy, he just, he climbs there and throws down on fellas.
I always say, go ahead.
His jump shot is so smooth. His handles are incredible. He's super athletic, but he makes the game look easy. He's just not worth his contract. Other than that, though, super awesome player.
I was about to say, his game is just butter, but it's just too bad he has that contract, because if he had an appropriate contract, people wouldn't be, nagging on him like they are. But he's still a very good player. He's still fun to watch.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, Vooch had an unreal night. I mean, electric shooting. I mean, 6 threes, 29 points, 12 boards, 3 blocks. I mean, where those blocks come from? I don't know if I've ever seen him block a shot in my life.
That may have been me out there. He may have blocked a couple of my shots. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't actually know his vertical. I can't imagine it's high.
I don't think
he can't jump over paper.
I don't think he jumps. I was going to say I'm not sure if he ever does. It's like a 1 foot step up that he's got going on. It's impressive.
Who has a higher vertical, Jokic or Vucevic? It might be close. I don't know if Jokic ever leaves the floor. It might be a part of his contract that he can't leave the floor, and that also might be a reason why he never gets hurt. Although he might be hurt right now.
That's what I was going to say.
He usually doesn't get hurt.
I was going to comment on that, Brian, that he never leaves the floor, and people keep, the talking heads that be are like, well, is the usage going to catch up to him, right? Is he going to get hurt? Can he sustain this? I'm like, he doesn't really jump, right? The rest of these guys are flying around out there. I could play 82 games if I didn't ever jump.
It's so smart. He doesn't jump, and he does sprint. He is quicker than you think he is, but he doesn't, sprint very often. He's very, he's just managing the whole game. He's just a wizard out there.
Michael, do you think you could tailor some of these into your game? Just work on your non-jumping moves at the elbow. Catch, jab, and.
I have to be a lot better at the skills aspect of the game. Jokic is just a little better than me in all of those aspects. I rely on my supreme athleticism, as Brian knows. Extremely athletic. So
I was going to say he's just a little better, just
slightly.
Slightly. As much as he gets off the floor, that's what we're talking about.
Exactly, minuscule. That we're on the same page.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're hopping to our scheduled material here of the day. Going to kick it off with just some observations of things going on around the league. Little NBA Cup action, some things we like, some things we don't, and got a fun little feature here today. We're gonna dust off our NBA recollection, pull back the curtain a little bit, and show you all why we fell in love with the league, our from our own way, and do a draft of our favorite NBA moments. Probably gonna get a little feisty out there. I know there's gonna be some sniping. Try and keep your takes to yourself. But we're excited to hear what everybody's prepared in terms of their moments here. So with that, I'll just jump right into it. I think first observation was 2 full slates of NBA Cup games. Definitely there are different courts. That's fun. It's clear that Adam Silver got on the horn with the officiating committee and was called very differently than the first, I would say, 10 to 12 games of the year. A lot of kind of physical, high intensity, quality games to watch, I would say, from a spectator's point of view. Really enjoyed it. Started, a week ago with Warriors Mavs with Clay's return to the Bay, which we touched on, but kind of up and down, back and forth game. We had the Hawks knocking off the Celtics, and then the second set of game, Brooklyn versus the Knicks, battle of New York, back and forth. Schroeder going up for a nice layup, coming back and Jalen Brunson getting the game winner. We had Lakers Spurs, Wemby battling AD, kind of initial unicorn versus new unicorn, and De'Aaron Fox going for 50 to send it to overtime. Minnesota versus San Antonio, so really high competitive basketball. I know I was home on a Friday, sat and enjoyed it. My biggest takeaway though was this is great, but I don't really know what it means, right? Like I know we're playing for the NBA Cup. I know last year we had, the Lakers had the hardware, and there was some, obviously the Pacers elevating themselves in the national spotlight. But do we have any more robust takeaways of teams that do good in the NBA Cup? Is that for their betterment? Should we think about the NBA Cup differently? What would you guys like? What are you guys thinking about this in terms of big picture, the implications?
I think that it's really hard to say because I think each team is approaching it slightly differently. Like, I think that there's some teams who are just going to treat it like the regular season. Like, you have teams like Boston clearly didn't care about losing that game to Atlanta. Like, they're playing competitive enough basketball throughout the regular season. They want to be ready for the playoffs. And whether it's an NBA Cup game or just a normal weekday game, they don't care. Like, they want their guys to be healthy. They're playing for the playoffs. So I think other guys or other teams, like last year, the Lakers were like super frisky in the NBA Cup, but they felt like they had a chip on their shoulder. They had something to prove. LeBron's a competitor. AD like working his way back up into like the top echelon of NBA talent the last like year and a half. And so I think just teams are really just competing in different ways during it. And so for that reason, it's hard to compare. Like, what teams are really giving it their all, what teams are trying different things, what teams just don't think about it. They're preparing for the same game as they would any other game. It's kind of hard to say, and for that reason, I feel like it's just treated like a regular season game. And I think that's going to be true until we get to Vegas. Like, seeing how the semifinals and the finals game are, I think, is like much more indicative of something than just these group level games, which is why I think the group stage thing needs some tweaking. I don't really have a great solution for that, but I do think it needs some tweaking.
Yeah, I think for me, it's great that it gives it some juice, right? I just wonder if maybe we just appreciate it for what it is, the commissioner and the powers that be got on the phone and said, hey guys, like, take this shit seriously, right? And maybe it's as simple as that. If we just get these highlights of, football season still in peak, we're not as, pertinent to it. I was brainstorming some ideas of my own. I know in European soccer, right, these in-season tournaments are kind of the standard. You get the Champions League, you have Europa, right? Even in England, you have your within the English Premier League kind of notion. What if we made this a global thing, right? What if we got like FC Barcelona participating in the NBA Cup and, the champion of the Israeli League, and we figured out a way that maybe it's, the conference finalists from last year in the NBA, and then, globally league winners, and we found out some incentive system from a scheduling perspective, right, that we dropped to 72. These are only 4 extra games, so it's in the model of 80-something. I don't know, I thought something like that could get really interesting where you could actually have this notion of global basketball outside of FIBA, right, but from a club-based system that there can maybe truly be a champion of the world. So it was one interesting idea. I wanted to see what the friends had to say.
I love that idea.
Yeah, I like that a lot, actually.
Yeah.
Like, the one thing I was thinking was, it almost reminds me of, like, interleague baseball, like, back when that was a thing. Because, like, growing up as a White Sox fan, obviously being in the AL, you get to play the NL teams, like, once every other year. Like, that was really cool. And so finding a way to establish that kind of, like, combination of rarity and quality sporting would be really exciting. I like that idea. Brian, what were you going to say?
No, I was just going to say I like it. I'm sure it's a whole different matter of like how you logistically execute on that. Like you suggested, playing less games. Obviously, I don't know how that works from the owner's perspective and from the economics perspective, but from a fan's perspective, I think that would be really cool. And I know, the NBA is definitely trying to make the game more global and getting exposed to, because I think, there's still a big drop off, but like I think the level of play is closer than maybe some people think. Like I think if you get the best team out of, France or Italy or whatever. Like, I think that would be fun to watch. So no, I think that's a really interesting idea, because I think, to your original point or whatever Ian was saying, when I'm watching like NBA, like some of these like earlier games, these like round robin games, if you're just watching them play, a lot of the times I'm like, I can't tell just by watching if this is something new or not. I still think it's a net positive, because when you get to like the semis and the finals, like, it has some juice, which is really fun to watch. But I'm sure they'll tweak it as time goes on. But it'll be interesting to see what comes of it.
Yeah.
So Michael, go ahead.
I was going to say, first of all, I love that idea. And then I'm talking about, this is all coming to me as we're talking about this, from a logistics standpoint. You talk about parity between the NBA guys and some of the best overseas guys, which, Brian, to your point, I think a lot of people overseas are better than we think. Maybe you get, again, logistically, some of the G League guys, some of the best G League guys, to be able to play overseas against those guys so that they can go. It's a separate roster and schedule from the NBA. And maybe you can get some of those guys to play against the overseas guys, which is one of my ideas. And the other idea was, again, we were talking about seeing some of these guys that we're not used to seeing, some overseas guys. Maybe, again, crazy idea, there's a minutes restrictions on your starters for the NBA. So you have to play your bench. And you get guys deeper, they can prove themselves. Because I was trying to find that guy on, Gershon Yabusele.
Yeah.
I discovered him from the Olympics.
He's Alex's favorite player.
Guys on, like, nationally, from guys on the bench, like Ayo Dosunmu. No one knows about him, but I love him.
Well, I think there's a pretty cool incentive model, Michael, to your point, right? Which is, for international guys, it's easy. It's your showcase, right? Like, if you can come and play with NBA talent against NBA teams that are set up to play as teams, like, I think your selling point from your talent upside, right? And I do think, and listen, I'm not the first person to come up with this perspective, but I know that there's a lot of, general sentiment that 82 game season, the only reason kind of we do it anymore is for the money, right? And, I think there's a lot from, like, the speed of the game and injuries, and obviously there's the, tie back to history and records and things that I personally feel strongly about. But if you could supplement that revenue, right, with, higher nationally televised games with, more eyeballs, conversation around it, that's where maybe there's a bang for your buck, that you take the notion of an in-season tournament and make it the champion of the world, right? You take last year's 4 teams and go from there. So thanks you guys for the feedback. I think we refined the idea, and we'll submit it to the real commissioner over the next couple of weeks, and really transform the game of basketball. So good job, we win.
Okay, wait. I've got one other thing to say about the NBA Cup. I thought of something. I totally dropped the ball. I screwed up and forgot our greedy kind of natural disposition with the expansion league last week. I don't know what got into me. So this week I have a new proposal, a revised proposal that's related to the NBA Cup. So we were talking last week about the winner of the NBA Cup getting, like, the 6th seed in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about you. I don't want to see, Jacob, your beloved Charlotte Hornets get blown the heck out in the first round, and I don't think their fans need it. I don't think anybody needs that. So here's what I'm proposing. For the winner of the NBA Cup, the first round of the NBA draft is now 31 picks. And the winner of the NBA Cup gets the 15th pick in the draft, right after the lottery, first pick after the lottery. That is also a tradable asset from the second you get it until the trade deadline, and then after the season before the draft. So that's an asset that, like, amazing teams can use to build. Teams have traded away their first round picks for the next handful of years. They get a brand new 15th overall pick in the draft. They can trade that. Or if you're a team like your beloved Charlotte Hornets, you have another lottery pick, essentially, almost a lottery pick that you can use as an asset. That's my proposal. I think that could get some teams really excited. Not to mention us in the media, like, we're going to have a field day with being able to, like, predict what's going on with that. So that's my proposal. I'll accept my flowers. I was very proud of that. Came up with that in the shower last night. I'll take my answer off here.
Permission granted. I was honest. I almost, like, screamed something, and then I realized I have an 8-month-old baby sleeping, so I didn't. But that's like I feel like that's a great idea. Like that's getting me all excited because I feel like that's the right amount. Like that's actual incentive. But like it's the right amount. I feel like that feels right.
You could even ratchet it up like one level more and just throw it in the lottery with the 0.1% chance of getting the first round pick. And all of a sudden it goes from like
absolutely.
All of a sudden that
Absolutely.
gets like super steamy really quick.
We're in Derrick Rose
Yeah,
territory
exactly.
now.
Yeah, let's get those ping pong balls bouncing.
But it's still
Throw a couple extras in there.
exactly still 60 total picks though. So it's 30, 31, and 29. Or is it 31 and 30?
Just one extra pick, maybe.
It's 31 and 30. So like, there's one extra
just
pick.
one extra pick.
So Mr. Irrelevant is now going to be picked 61 instead of 60.
I
I
sort of love it. Let's get on the horn.
I actually think where's Adam Silver right now? Like why get him? Who has the red phone that they can just pick up?
You get a link
Let's
to
get
It's
him
just
on.
what I would love to see is like, how would GMs who are way smarter than me and us, like, how would they value a pick when you know where it's going to be picked? Like, that is super interesting to me. Like, draft order at the trade deadline is like somewhat predictable, but not entirely predictable. But if you know that asset is the 15th overall pick in the draft, like, how do they value that? I think that's super interesting.
And it's not like there haven't
because
been
it's known,
right.
Yeah,
There hasn't. It's not like there hasn't been 15th overall picks that have gone on to be like Giannis was 16th overall, right?
Totally.
Even this year, yeah.
Kawhi was 16th.
Yeah, like it's a hotbed of guys that have some red flag and that. Ian,
Do the players still get the money in this scenario? Ian?
Yes, yeah.
They still get the payout because I'm the only question mark with this is I don't know if current players would care that much about adding another pick. I feel like they're very focused on the now, focused on winning this season. It's something a coach and a GM would for sure get excited about, and a guy like LeBron.
Agreed. But if you assume that a team that's like really good that can flip that pick for like an asset that can help them win now,
If you
like
can
it's
trade
just
it
adding,
immediately,
it's adding to the possibilities. I thought, which is why I threw like the
Because-
tradable asset part in there.
Because I think it's a key point because a lot of teams like the Lakers or there's plenty of other teams that have a lot of there's a limit of how many draft picks you can trade if depending on how many you've given up. So if you get this extra pick that you can swap and use that to match money or to make a trade more possible, I feel like that's super interesting. Because I feel like the Lakers are a perfect example. Like they're always looking for that extra shooter, that extra piece, and that pick could put them over the edge to make a deal.
That's how you acquire Zach Lavine.
there you go.
Yeah,
We'll take the 15th pick.
We were talking about Zach Lavine before you
nice.
jumped on, so full circle.
Great idea, Ian. Wow.
All right, I think we got some ideas. So we made the NBA Cup relevant. Good job, team.
Next
Good job by
episode,
you guys.
we're getting Adam Silver on the pod. He's got to be our first guest. This is ridiculous.
I'll make some phone calls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I've been
let's get to
slacking
work.
on that front. I'll make some phone calls. But I'll raise my hand. That's on me.
So if you take one of us and you just go 3 people deep, the whole connection game, someone has an uncle who knows him, someone has an uncle who went to college with him or something, for
Jewish
sure.
geography. It would take us 5 minutes.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
We got this. Everybody, send out your feelers, and we'll go. We'll get going. All right. Other topic from the past couple of games is, yes, I know we hit up the Bulls that they won up front. Yay, go Bulls. 2 games before that, they gave up 143 and 144 points in back-to-back games. Managed to give up 49 points to the Cavs in the first quarter. I actually don't know if I've seen that live or sat down and watched a game where that happened. Just wide open shot after wide open shot. Used the exact same defensive scheme that did not work in the previous game against the Cavs 2 evenings earlier. Rolled that back out, tried to hard hedge on every screen, ended up with kind of Evan Mobley just being able to dictate and pass to Garland and Mitchell cutting, Okoro wide open corner threes. It was atrocious. It just got me thinking, back to the conversation that we had. We need a better way to talk about defense, right? And I guess I would say big picture with the Bulls, right? I think they're a unique situation where I think it's a response to a little bit of them trying to play like dramatically different than last year and go, which is not acceptable when you're turning the ball over as much as they do, right? I think it's like 17 a game, which is not good. And then also just not having the right players to play in a defensive system that way, right? They have, as we talked about up front, Nikola Vucevic on the floor, who is not the most agile big man in the entire world. So trying to get up and down and play a kind of a scramble and recover with, complex rotations is just insane. So, Brian, I know you had some more thoughts on defense. It was mind blowing to me, the lack thereof that the Bulls were playing, and I know we want to as a Below the Rim podcast have a better way to talk about defense, so we can be both praise forward and critical about it.
100%. And I feel like I'm on this journey of trying to figure out how to
take us with you. Take us with you.
What's the most intelligent way, but also not overly complex way to think about defense? So this is going to be like a season long escapade. But one thing I was looking at was DFG percentage, or defensive field goal percentage. So you as the closest defender, so whoever that is, call it a Rudy Gobert, Jokic, whoever, what does your opponent who is shooting on you, what is their field goal percentage? And obviously game to game, average it over the whole season. And I was looking at last year, and there are a couple comparisons that I want to make, because with this stat, it's like, okay, I'm guarding this guy. What field goal percentage are they shooting? It matters if you're a big guy versus a small guy. Like, obviously, if you're a guard, they're going to be shooting more threes. Your, defensive field goal percentage is going to be lower. If you're a big guy, it's going to be higher. So there's two ones that I wanted to bring up that I thought were interesting. So this is last year. I'm going to say what last year was, and I'm going to say what this year is, and maybe we can chat about it a little bit. So Rudy Gobert last year allowed 43% from the field. So I guess to give us some context, and for all the listeners out there, 46 to 47% is like average field goal percentage, and the range is basically 41 to 54, I would say, roughly. So Rudy Gobert last year, defended as a defender, allowed 43% from the field. This year, 44. Jokic last year, 51. This year, 50. So two guys who defend in the post. Jokic, who we consider probably all of us, unanimously the best player in the world right now, but allowing greater than 50% from the field when someone like a Gobert is 43. So I thought that was interesting. Like, how do we think about that? Is that valid? Do we think it's, just one piece of the puzzle? Do we need to look at that closer? I know people talk about Jokic's defense a little bit, but I thought that was interesting.
Brian, a couple points. It's a very interesting stat. I also think the best defenders always guard the best players. But they're going to have a higher usage rate, and they're going to have a much better shooting percentage, just because it's impossible to guard KD from the mid-range. You can just hope to contain him. Things like that.
For sure.
In the case of Jokic versus Gobert specifically, Jokic has to conduct the entire offense. He has to expend so much more energy on that side of the floor, where sometimes I think Rudy can't even hit a finger roll, and he could touch the rim with his hand, not standing up. But that is a significant difference on the defensive end. And obviously we know that Gobert is a better defender than Jokic, but it's a piece of the puzzle because of what Jokic does on the offensive end, and he makes everybody 100 times better. And then, obviously Gobert, to your point, he's a big man, so he's not guarding guys past the paint, really. And he's got the best chance of affecting people's shot as they're going towards the rim, and they can't shoot over him.
No, for sure. I mean, I'm assuming like most of the people Jokic is guarding, I'm assuming close to the rim. I mean, he may be outside a little more, but yeah. I like comparing those two because I was thinking they are probably guarding a similar type of player.
I also,
but it's not exactly the same.
I also think it's interesting because I think there's a defensive scheme element that's very different between the way the Wolves play and the way the Nuggets play, right? So with the Wolves,
sure.
And actually I think they're struggling with a little bit this year. Their whole objective is hard closeouts, right, and make make offensive players convert at the rim with Rudy, right, in a more of a help position, right, as it relates to kind of a drop coverage, guard the rim, and it's, I would say, in totality, a higher degree of shot, which I think, Brian, goes to your point of how do we include and make sure that, like, defensive concepts are included, which I think is where that, in my opinion, defensive field goal falls a little bit flat. Whereas Jokic, it's probably a lot more isolation, and it's a lot more switching, right? So there's going to be times that he actually gets switched out onto point guard or wings in a slightly more aggressive coverage. I think that's where we still, I think, overvalue statistically big man contributions a little bit there because to that exact point where I think someone like Rudy Gobert statistically is always going to be slightly overrated, right? I mean, he's been Defensive Player of the Year 4 times, which is, in my opinion, kind of crazy, but that's besides the point. And, like, he's always going to be propelled higher than somebody like this year, a Jalen Suggs, right? Who I find to be just absolutely, I would not want to play basketball. I would get off. I'd get off the court. I'd be like, please leave me alone. I just think his impact is a lot harder to quantify because it's not blocks, it's not shot altering, it's not rebound, it's shot deterrent, right? So I think that's where I go. That I think that Rudy said he's always going to do that. It's hard to finish with him at the rim, but the actual deterrent to the shot can be a little bit more challenging.
No, for sure.
I think it's hard, Brian, though, because to your point, and Jacob's point, there's so many different schemes, and if your guards aren't good at defense, their guys are gonna get right by the offenses are gonna go right by them. Then you have to move up. Then you have to help the double screen. It's just hard because it's a team element. Whereas offense, you could definitely be isolation, and we know why it's easier to quantify offense. But how do you quantify communicating on defense and leading? Like there is a point guard on defense, the big like Draymond. He tells people where to go, when to switch, and that's you can't quantify that. But I do like that stat, Brian, and I want to keep narrowing down.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. Yeah, and I think Draymond Green was also someone who scored really well in this statistic.
There's a sick viral Draymond Green video of his block on Gafford in closing time with the against the Mavs. You'll have to see it. He has the exact same block in the regular season 1 year before, same play. Carbon copy, and it's that reach behind, and he Gafford goes back 2-hand. This is great for our audio only listeners. Goes to 2-hand tomahawk, and he spins it off, and both times it's the exact same scheme from the Mavericks, same action, same pass, and he makes the exact same clean block both times. As much as a scumbag he can be, the guy plays defense. It's incredible.
He's amazing. And Jokic has great hands too, obviously, but he just has magnets on his hands. He just gets his hand on the ball all the time. Especially there's normal Draymond and there's Draymond I'm going balls out, and when it's Draymond I'm balls out. He's arguably the best defender in the league still. He's nuts. But that is interesting. When you mention the help defender versus isolation 1-on-1. I wonder what is the higher percentage shot if you were to take a sample of 10,000 drives on a help defender versus just big man on big man post up. I don't know what the more difficult shot to defend is, but it's interesting. Yeah, one other one I just want to go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, especially with those two, because those shot profiles are going to be dramatically different.
Yeah. One other one I wanted to mention before we move on is from a small man perspective. I wanted to look at Trae Young, because we're always talking about Trae Young's defense. Trae Young last year at 50.7% on shots defended, which for a little guard is pretty fucking awful relative to others. And then this year it's pretty similar, 49.6. Russell Westbrook was an interesting one, and this could be for I wasn't expecting this. Russell Westbrook last year 43.6, and this year 41.8, which is near the top. I don't know if he's just Olaying defender or Olaying people on the guy he's defending, and just he's not the closest defender when they're shooting the ball. I don't know what's happening, but I thought that was interesting.
He's so bad at defense that he's not close enough.
I know. I was so surprised. He's, So I thought that was interesting. I mean, one confirming Trae Young, not the greatest, but I was like, there's something going on here with this Russell Westbrook. Plus, for Leave, I just had to throw out a little Russell Westbrook. So
I'd like
I'm looking at Drew.
Sorry, go ahead, Alex.
I'm looking at that number for Drew Holiday because I feel like he's our Northern Star as far as defense is concerned, and he's at this season he's at 45.8%. So there is a hint
good.
of what you're saying, Mike, because the guy who's guarding the best player, they're getting the most looks.
Oh,
So.
for sure. Yeah.
That I know personally. We know Alex, basketball is a game of matchups, and if you're considered one of the better defenders, you have to guard the better guy, and naturally his usage is going to be up more, and he's going to shoot more, and he's going to be more difficult. And Jrue always guards the best player.
So speaking of the best defenders, I want to do, we're going to do a draft tonight. Let's just be true to ourselves and get a little trivia going to figure out the draft order. So what we're going to do is I have, according to NBA.com, great website, I have the top 5 best overall defenders in the NBA according to total defensive rating, which combines a bunch of variables together to comes up with the total rating. It includes steals, deflections, blocks, your true shooting percentage, Brian, to your point in terms of the defensive end, and then some additional second spectrum metrics to come up with the overall number. Number 1 is Jalen Suggs, so I'll give it away, right? Guy's
Is that
an
for this
animal.
season?
Good for him.
It's for so far this season.
Right.
Whoever can get one player in the top 5 next.
Dyson Daniels.
No.
Wemby.
No.
Gobert.
Chet.
Anthony Edwards.
Chad is number 2. So Alex, you get the first overall draft pick.
Wow.
Wow.
All right.
Anthony Edwards.
Not in
Oh,
there.
we're still going? Oh, Draymond.
No.
Draymond, wait. Matisse Thybulle.
OG.
All right, I'll give you a clue. They're
Bam.
all on the same team.
What? Oh,
Jalen
Mobley.
Williams.
Nope.
Mobley? Tatum? Brown? What?
Derek-
The same team?
It's an Eastern Conference team.
Is it Paolo? Franz? What team?
Franz, there we go. There we go. Franz is number
Jesus
4.
Christ.
Brian, you're gonna hit the
Unbelievable.
second pick.
I'm sweating now. You got me all stressed out.
I'm gonna take the third pick because it was a great trivia question. And then Michael or Ian, I'll let you guys. It's a Magic bench players, 3 or 5. Good luck.
Jonathan Isaac.
Nope.
I
Good
guess.
guess.
Goga.
Nope.
How many bench players? Yeah.
I can't even.
Anthony
Magic
Black.
bench players.
There we go. Anthony Black is number 5. Mo Wagner is number 3. What a list.
I feel like I'm playing the worst
See-
version of Immaculate Grid.
I don't trust this stat.
Hey,
I don't
listen.
trust it.
It just shows how good the Magic defense has been all year. So, listen.
It
That
also shows how far we have to go in defensive stats, but we're on it.
Yeah, listen, we got room to grow on guessing Magic bench players as well as coming up with good defensive stats. So listen, all of us have something to work on this upcoming fiscal year. With that, we're
Got my list.
gonna hop right into the draft, and really excited. Just for our audience at home, we did not define what our favorite moment means, right? So. For some of us, it might be your personal favorite moment. It might be, a moment that you think was the coolest, a moment that defined, an era of the NBA, whatever it is. But we're just going to kind of kick this thing off and see where it goes. So, with that, Mr. Alex, you get the first overall pick.
Just sweet talk me into it a little bit, though. Don't just give it to me right away. Get me going a little bit.
20 years ago.
Stop pretending like that's a challenge.
It's actually a perfect segue, Brian. 20 years ago, on your birthday.
Whoa.
Sorry, 2 days before your birthday. November
I'm older than
19th.
20.
November
It's also
19th,
2 days
2004.
after my birthday. But listen.
See, you see how we did that, though, Lee? You see how we did
Semantics.
that? You see how that happened?
Okay, so tomorrow's the 20th anniversary. I originally thought maybe I'll wait for this pick. Maybe I can get into the 3rd or 4th round. But I can't not get it. 20 years ago, the Malice in the Palace took place. Ben Wallace.
We were at a sleepover. We were at
Yeah.
at my parents' house.
So it's Brian's birthday party. We're at his house in the family room watching some hoops. Ben Wallace gets it, the high post, faces up, takes Jermaine O'Neal to the rim, and Ron Artest comes up and kind of clotheslines him in the face. And Ben Wallace got a little angry. So he gets him with the two-hand shove in the chest. And just absolute chaos takes place. There's a little bit of shoving going back and forth, and then honestly I was just watching this earlier, things cool down a little bit. Ron Artest, before he became Meta World Peace, lays flat on the scores table. His shirt's kind of like ripped down, and he's just laying there peacefully. Ben Wallace is going crazy. And then all hell breaks loose when a fan throws a beer at Ron, sweet Ron, and then he loses it. He sprints up into the crowd and starts socking a dude in the face. Steven Jackson comes up, starts socking another dude in the face. They finally get them back on the court, and then this one poor dude, he looks like just like short, chubby guy, just accidentally walks towards Ron, and he just socks him right in the face. So it was ugly. The craziest thing when I was watching this replay, the announcer, one of the announcers, I think it was Marv Albert maybe, was talking about how horrible this is. He's like, this is awful for the NBA. This is a bad look for Detroit and Indiana.
How do you call that? Yeah,
It's a tough call, but then this guy next to him, I don't know who it was, is like, hey, it's an emotional game. These things happen. And he tries to talk it out like this isn't the biggest thing. But I also specifically remember at Brian's house for his birthday, you specifically got like extremely emotional. Not like crying emotional, but you were yelling at the TV about how insane it was what was happening.
I mean, this is not acceptable.
Yeah, you were not happy with them. Yeah, and then we had a big sleepover in his basement, and somebody put water on my hands while I was sleeping to try to get me to pee my pants, but it didn't work.
Did it work?
Yeah, it didn't work.
What was more memorable, the sleepover or those
Malice in the Palace.
memories intertwined at this point?
I do think it forever changed the league though, because David Stern, he put the clamps on the NBA after that. I think.
Probably for the better. Yeah. I mean, I would think everyone would agree with that, but yeah, probably for the better.
But it was entertaining. I'll never forget it.
Wow.
That's for sure.
Hey, way to
forget
start us
that.
off on such a negative note with one of the darkest days in NBA history. So, well done, Alex.
Worst overall.
All right, let's keep it going.
Yeah, I feel like, we talk NBA moments, right? Like, things that happen in the NBA that are, like, just make you feel something inside, gets you going. And, I feel like this is a steal at number 2, honestly. I'm feeling really good about it. And, we're talking 1998.
Mm-hmm.
So we were all little rascals. Game 6 of the NBA Finals. And I think we all know where I'm going, but I want to cheat a little bit and go like 1.5 moments, because it was kind of the same moment. People remember MJ Game 6 Finals against the Jazz, crossing over Russell, putting them on skates. People say it was a push. It wasn't a push. Crosses him over.
It was just
sinks
it was just a Yabusele grab.
Yeah,
just grabbing ass.
He was grabbing it. It was a love touch. And like the way he finishes at the end, like we've all seen the poster, we've all seen the picture, basically capping off the finals, winning his 6th championship, 3 in 3 years for the second time. I don't need to tell you guys, all that. What I also want to bring up is the play immediately before. Karl Malone in the post, Michael Cumming help D steal, big steal, to then hit the game winner to win the championship. Like, I think as a basketball fan, as Michael Jordan, the best player to ever live, if I'm going to pick one moment for myself personally, that's it by a long shot.
That was definitely the right pick.
Yeah,
You nailed it.
I think for our demographic as well, we're Chicago guys, right? I think for me, it's my first basketball memory. It's like watching that shot live. Like I still
you were
remember
like
that.
age.
Yeah. So
You're so spot on about the defensive play too, because Carl gets it in the post, and MJ is supposed to run through with his guy, and then he's just like, nah, I'm just gonna leave him, and he pokes it away. So
and
good.
like we talk about, and that's why, and not to bring it all the way back, but we're talking like, I wonder what Michael Jordan's field goal percentage defended was, because I mean, he was just such a beast on both ends, best of all time. All right, I'll shut up.
But also the fact that we don't know is part of the myth making.
Yeah,
Which
true.
is cool. Like, not
Yeah.
knowing that stuff and just being able to watch and not think about it is part of what made watching that so freaking amazing. And watching, like, The Last Dance and the YouTube videos and all that stuff. It's pure, like, heroic myth-making stuff.
100%.
speaking of
But we love it.
heroic myth making stuff, I'm going. I'm actually going to a regular season game, but I think it's the moment that transformed the NBA from about 2016 to today. It really was the first domino that fall, and that's it's February 26th, February 27th, 2016. Warriors, Oklahoma City Thunder, the first ever double bang call from Mike Breen as Steph Curry, with plenty of time left on the clock with a tie game, takes the inbound, takes one dribble over half court, 4 second left, and pulls up and is the beginning of the end of the Oklahoma City Thunder. They obviously go on to subsequently knock them out of the playoffs that year with Clay Game 6, but that moment was, it's the 73-8 or 73-9 Warriors. It's the midst of a 26-game run, and it's this guy that all little people who look up to as kind of their hero and kind of representation in the NBA, just pulling up from a stupid distance in really dumb uniforms. If you watch it back, it was like the full longs, like half long sleeve city uniforms, and I just will always remember where I was. It's the first domino that toppled KD leaving OKC, Harden, Ibaka, Russell all going their separate ways. It's the 4 championships with LeBron and the Warriors, the two wins for Steph and KD, and just really reset the course for the NBA. They're on out. So that was the moment that I think that team really just took on a different resemblance of the NBA. They're now dynastic. They'll always represent that time period, and I always remember Steph pulling that just cold-blooded from that distance. So it's going to be my number one.
Nice.
I remember that moment. I was watching that game, and I remember thinking to myself, like, Steph has to shoot this, and he's obviously going to chuck a three. But I was thinking, like, whoever was guarding him, like, was it Russ or whoever? I was like, he's pretty far out. He's ready. Like, it was not his fault. And Steph's like, oh, he's stopping from there? Like, I'll just take 2 steps back and shoot it from half court.
Yeah,
and
it was
just fucking
stupid.
just Yabo.
Stupid.
Yeah, it was stupid. It was stupid.
I don't know who was guarding him. I know the name in my head, but I want to confirm before I say it.
Are you, like, pulling up the clip?
Yeah.
Thabo Cephalosha.
That's who I think of.
Was it?
Cephalosha?
That's what I was going to say.
That's a pull.
I don't know if he's in the game.
Former Bull.
Yeah, Thabo Cephalosha.
Yeah, wow.
Alex, way to go.
That's who I was.
That's a pull.
You made me look
Pull
bad
that out of your
because
ass.
that is who I was. Yeah,
That's gonna
great
smell
job,
bad.
Alex.
All right, I stole
Great
it
work.
from you.
Really dug in there.
Okay, who's
Is it
next?
me?
Is it Ian or Mike?
Ian, you're up.
So I want to provide way more than necessary context for this moment, both like in terms of what was happening in the NBA and also exactly what I was doing. So I'm taking you back to the summer into our senior year of high school, and it was a really exciting time to be a Bulls fan. So we thought. Um, it's so sad to like think back through
Not
this.
so you
But
thought. That was the highlight of my life, dude.
I'm walking you through free agency 2010. Okay, it's being reported like starting the first day of free agency that the Bulls are meeting with Chris Bosh. We're meeting with Dwayne Wade. It's super exciting. Like I'm like ready to buy jerseys. I'm like refreshing the NBA store all summer, and then it just all went to shit. We signed Carlos Boozer right before I went to bed,
Great guy.
like on the 7th, and I wake up the 8th and I got a baseball doubleheader. I catch a doubleheader and I get home just in time to watch my actual moment, which is the decision with LeBron. And I ate 15
so
spicy
sad. All
nuggets
these
from
moments are
Wendy's
so
while
sad.
watching this. I remember that. And if I tried to do that now, you'd have to drive me to urgent care. But I remember tuning into the decision, and I was like, first off, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. Like, they keep telling you, we've raised $6 million for charity. I'm like, I just want to know where he's going to play. And I don't know if you remember this, but like this is kind of like one of the last moments before NBA Twitter. Like, LeBron literally joined Twitter the day before this. Like, he didn't have a Twitter presence at all. And, like, I remember I made a Twitter literally after this. I was like, oh, that's cool. I want to do that. Which really just shows you, like, the times were really changing. LeBron sits down, announces he's taking his talents to South Beach. I was extremely upset because there was still part of me that thought he was going to come to the Bulls. Obviously, that was delusional. I was a child.
Yeah.
But, yeah, the decision. I mean, it changes the league drastically. Obviously, it goes to Miami, Bosh and Wade, 2 titles, all those finals appearances. The Cavs get Kyrie 2 years later. He goes back. That's another championship for the Cavs. I mean, it's just like sets off. I mean, we could say with all these moments like dominoes for NBA history, but
Effect, yeah.
I really do feel like the way he handled that free agency and like kind of prematurely identified him as like a drama queen, which I didn't really appreciate at the time. I've always been a LeBron guy, and I think as other stars have been way more dramatic, demanding their way out of teams, this, that, and the other thing, demanding trades, like LeBron has kind of fixed that reputation. I always supported the decision as a TV program. I'm definitely the minority on that, but that's definitely one of the first moments that comes to mind.
I actually,
Yeah, I did like. I was going to say, I like that you brought up the $6 million to charity because people always forget that's really why he did it. They didn't like anything else about it, and I understood that he's, they said he was like egomaniac and it's all about him, which at that point it was. And 2, he's a good guy. People always forget he's a good guy. Maybe they're always like, oh, he's not as good as Jordan because Jordan probably wouldn't have done any of that stuff. LeBron he cares about, making schools for kids and giving $6 million to charity. So I do like that. You brought that up.
I had no
Jacob,
problem
you're
with the decision. It was the strip show where he promised 7 championships that was a little bit much for me.
Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, or 5 or 6 or 7.
Did he promise 7?
What was the last one he said? They were like laughing at the end.
It was either
He may have
6 or
said
7. But I think it was
He
7,
said
yeah.
8. Did he say 8? Wow.
That's wild.
Jeez.
That's
It
tough
didn't
to do
happen.
when you play
Didn't
football.
happen.
It was only
Didn't happen.
Yeah.
Hindsight's 2020.
Spoiler, didn't happen.
All right, Mal, hit us with the turn. You got 2 here to do something special.
I was
Oh,
gonna
yeah,
say,
give us a
we get a
little snake. Give
All right.
us the snake, baby.
So I've got 2. One I think is one of the cool.
We gotta shut this down. We gotta shut this down, Brian.
Oh, Brian.
Brian, you got an 8-month-old over there. Just
There's a setting I have to check on YouTube as if this is safe for children. And Brian made it very clear.
and Brian's just showing us his serial killer scribbles down there.
Oh, yeah. Hey,
No, you can't steal anything. Can't steal anything.
wow. So I'm gonna whip out the snake. For the first one, I was on a roll, Brian, and you got me. So
Sorry.
first one I think is a great basketball feat, and then the second one's a little more personal to me. December 6th, 2016. Warriors Pacers. Klay Thompson scores 60 points in 29 minutes while taking 11 dribbles. In my game yesterday, I took 11 dribbles dribbling the ball up the court, and I didn't even cross half. So just put that into context. 21 of 33 field goals and 8 of 14 three-pointers. He touched the ball 52 times for a total of 88.4 seconds. Again, only 11 dribbles, and didn't even play the fourth quarter. Again, we're talking like December. It's not even the new year. But 60 points and 11 dribbles? I don't think that's ever going to happen ever again. I don't even think it's close. That might have been the most immaculate shooting guard display of efficiency that I've ever seen, and it was immaculate.
Splish splash.
Clay.
Taking a bath.
Clay. Captain Clay.
Captain Clay. This one I forget how many rounds we're doing, but I could probably take it later, but I'm not going to because it's very personal to me. The 2009 first round series, Bulls Celtics. Even though Jacob, you agree with me?
It's on my list.
Oh, it's on your list. All right, I was going to say that was the greatest basketball that for the Bulls that I've witnessed, like live. Again, I know we were very young for the Bulls, so I'm talking like in my actual fandom. They played 4 games, went to overtime, 7 total periods. I think they almost played like an entire game. I mean, the teams were dynamite. You got D Rose at the peak of Chicago Mania, Luol Deng, Kirk, Joakim, against the original Big Three, Paul Pierce, Ray Allen, Kevin Garnett, Rajon Rondo, Nate Robinson, Kendrick Perkins, and Tony Allen talking about defense. And we cannot forget Brian Scalabrine was on that team. And again, even though we lost, that to me, and it's still my favorite series, and I think you guys know that I like to win. That was the greatest series I've ever seen because I was so proud of the players, the scuffles, and the D Rose and Rajon, the amount of talent. It was like the rise of Derrick Rose's excitement in Chicago. For me personally, it was the greatest basketball I've seen in like a long time.
I love it.
Hey, those are great memories. I love those memories. I had the Ben Gordon sending it to Double OT in game 2 as like that was my standout. Ian, where you coming back from with this?
Yeah, I'm trying to decide between a few. I'm gonna go with another one. I guess I'm gonna try to do mine somewhat chronological, just because that's the way I think about the NBA and like fandom and the way I've grown with the game over the years. So consistent with my first pick and also just like probably all my picks ultimately, one of the things I love about the NBA is just like the stardom of it. Like I think it does stardom better than any other American sport. Like baseball has always been my first love. Like I love baseball, always been my favorite sport. But the stardom in the NBA is just like unparalleled. And I think that there's one thing that happened slightly after the decision that really encapsulates that in just such like a pure and sincere way. And I'm going with Linsanity. So
on my list.
Yeah. So I have always also really loved like print journalism and like long form writing. And when I was a freshman in college, I was still getting Sports Illustrated to my freshman dorm, and Jeremy Lin was on back-to-back covers, like back-to-back weeks. And I don't know if that ever happened. I can't remember it ever happening, but I remember that Pablo Torre story, like, I think it was the first time he was on the cover. He wrote the cover story, and, like, it was just unreal. Again, kind of like sort of pre-NBA Twitter, the way we know it now, where it's, like, super cynical, and it's all just, like, everyone's just shitting on everything. Like, this was so pure, and everyone was so excited. New York basketball obviously like is like ups and downs, but for me, like that was one of the coolest things to see videos of like people just in New York be so jacked up about this backup point guard who went to Harvard and like failed up over and over and over again. Like it was just so cool, and I think it's like one of the just nicest things that we've had in the NBA, and I just like love that. So yeah, I'm going with Linsanity.
Great pick.
Love that.
Great pick. And I remember because it was on my list. Like, oh, that was the last game that happened, and then like it went on for another month. It was like
Yeah.
every single game. It's like, oh, they're gonna figure him out, and they didn't. And I remember Kobe coming out and saying, "This guy's got." Once Kobe backed him up, I was like, "Oh, this guy's legit."
Just so cool.
So cool. Great pick. Great pick.
Thank you.
So I fell in love with Derrick Rose, so I have to have a Derrick Rose memory here and in my number two, and I considered a lot of them, but I think what swayed it is I've been watching more and more NBA League Pass, and one of my favorite things is just getting to hear and listen to different announcers, right? And just getting to know how different announcers call the game. And there's some awesome ones. I know you guys joke, but like the Charlotte Hornets broadcast team is incredible, right? The play-by-play guy is just out of his mind and just screams into the microphone. He's had some great calls. I actually think Mike Bringett on the Knicks broadcasts, right, when he does the local ones, he does like a really good job with those as well. But nothing will beat Stacey King's call of Derrick Rose posterizing Goran Dragic on a cold January night in 2010. 2-hand, 2-foot, fast break, and sending him into another planet. For those, just a couple of I can't do a Stacey King impression, so I'm not going to even try. But he starts with, he did not get the memo. Then he falsettos into, I want to get higher. Then he goes deeper into, that's a bad, bad man. He has at least a 40-inch vertical, and get the heck out of his way. And just went all over the voice range. Just the dunk was a game clincher. He sent him into the shadow realm for those that are Yu-Gi-Oh aficionados. For us, like Gordon Dragic, wow, I can't even say his name. He never came back. It was just. It will be the moment I fell in love with Derrick Rose. I mean, he had a bunch. Like, he had a step back versus the Bucks to win in a regular season night. Obviously, there's later on, the game winner against the Heat. But that moment for me will personify just the impact and just the sheer ferociousness, that it existed in his game.
It was when the excitement was building too, because it was the year before he won MVP, right? So we were all just hyped up.
Yeah,
I remember that. Oh, what a dunk! What does he say?
Yeah, it was
too
nasty.
Strong, too fast, too. There's a third one.
Yeah,
too big, too strong, too fast, too good.
Something like that.
Yeah. Oh, that was a great call, Jacob.
Good times.
Stacey King does really like in his prime there. That was definitely his prime. Like his calls were like equal parts like entertaining and just absolutely hilarious. Like it takes the moment like up a notch for sure when he's like, I want to go higher, and it's just like
it's perfect. And you could tell he loved that team. Like there's sometimes you can really tell like announcers. Like I used to get that from Ron Santo a lot with the Cubs, right? Like there was just like a pure joy being there talking about the team. And now he's fucking miserable calling the Bulls games. It is such a...
that's what I was going to say. It's like we talk about it being his glory days, like his peak, but it was also the peak of the Bulls in our adult lives.
Yeah,
like
totally.
Are you getting up to call these like just god awful games? No passion. Ugh, it's just so depressing.
So depressing. I also don't forget about Neil Funk. Let's not forget about Neil Funk.
I love when they throw it to Neil Funk.
I like Adam Amin as well, but
Can't
he's got nothing.
Can't listen to him right now, right, Michael?
No, I don't know. What was it? Yeah, I'm happy. I'm having a good night. Don't bring that up, Jacob.
all right. Wait, I'm up, right?
Yeah.
There's just a lot of just juicy fodder out here for me to frolic over. I think this might be a theme, but I'm going to take us back to the 2021 NBA Finals. Milwaukee Phoenix, for those basketball fans at home. Game 5. Milwaukee is up by 1. Phoenix with the ball to win the game. Like they're about to take the last shot. Booker drives into the paint. Jrue Holiday just two-hand takes the ball away from Devin Booker an NBA All-Star just takes it away like he's like a child. He literally just grabs the ball like two hands, like not even like just takes the ball, sprints down court. Giannis trailing him, alley-oop, boom, game over. It was like you have the anticipation of like, oh, is this shot going to go in? Then all of a sudden he just takes the ball, wins the game, alley-oop. The series was 2-2, game 5, pivotal game. Obviously they go on to win the championship. Bucks in 6 for those Bucks fans at home. Bucks in 6. So that's you can see a theme: defense and offense. NBA Finals doesn't get much better than that.
And Brian, I love that. That reminded me too. After that series, I forget if Giannis was going through a drive-through of donuts or nuggets, and he had 50 points, and he's like, "I don't want 49. I do not want 51." 50.
Yeah, that was so. He has a lot of funny moments on.
I love that.
Yeah, I'm not on social media, but he's got a lot of funny ones that Alex will send me occasionally.
No.
All right, Arask, hit us with the double.
Snake him, baby.
Oh my God, there's a lot on the table. Woo. Okay. Okay, I am gonna go with 2000 Game 7 Western Conference Finals. Lakers versus Trailblazers. Kobe at the top of the key. We got about 45 seconds on the clock. Underrated crosses up the great Scottie Pippen, maybe one of the best defenders of all time. Gets to the lane, looks like he's tossing up a floater, but it's an alley-oop to Shaq for the one-handed dunk to ice the game. The first and last time we saw those two like each other. A beautiful moment of friendship to win the game. They go on to the finals to beat the Pacers for Kobe and Shaq's first championship.
It's a great photo. That moment.
Mm-hmm.
My second pick, we can't leave the draft without it, is Blocked by James 2006 NBA Finals. Steph coming down the
2016.
2016. Yeah, excuse me. Steph's coming down the court, bounce pass to Andre Iguodala. LeBron comes flying in from half court for the block, and then it leads to a Kyrie 3 to win the game. It's a beautiful sequence. We were all rooting against them, but it is one of the most important moments in NBA history.
So that was going to be my next pick. Can I just add one element to it?
Please.
You got it. If we're going to talk about, we got to talk about the Draymond Game 5 nut punch as part of that story, because the only reason that thing probably gets to Game 7 is because they don't have to play Game 6 and without, because Draymond's suspended, right? So then it gets to Game 7 and these things are going crazy. If you watch it back, it's a very light nut touch. Like there was an upward motion in that regard.
I love tap.
But it looks like, him and LeBron are friends now, right? So maybe it was just he was just
They're
trying
like
to
good
see what's
friends,
going
aren't
on,
they?
right?
They're good friends.
I don't know what Draymond
Listen,
has in his
Jacob,
world, you know?
Jacob, I think pre-Malice in the Palace, he gets to play that game.
Yeah.
Post-Malice, suspension.
Right, listen, we're tying the fabrics together.
I see what you're doing there, Alex. Trying to pump up your.
You gotta bring it
rankings
up.
there.
I need to issue
no,
one
that's
correction though. I was rooting for the Cavs there, so not everybody.
Yeah, no, I would say I was rooting for the Cavs there. I do also think, even with everything considered, that was probably worth 2 championships, in my opinion. Maybe not 2 exactly, but the odds that they were against there, it was just so low.
Well,
I'll also say
that was
that maybe
pre-KD.
Draymond. What?
Right.
That was pre-KD, though. That was Harrison Barnes was the swing on that team. So, like,
if the Warriors win that game, they're the greatest team of all time.
team ever. Yeah, I mean, that's the 73-9, but no KD on that team at the time, so...
Yeah, but
It's
there might
gonna
be
be
other
OKC
moments
this
from
year.
that playoff run selected here, so let's not.
I'm glad you made that pick, because I actually probably meant to take that with my second pick there, but I missed it.
I thought for the credibility of our podcast, somebody has to pick it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Probably...
I was also
Are you
gonna
going
say
defense
that
again?
Maybe after the nut the Nut Love Tap, they became better friends. Like, who knows? I don't know. I'm just
I like that thought.
For my number 3, that this is absolutely no defense. This is, for the listeners at home, if we get to know each other a little better, you'll find out that, I'm a big All-Star Weekend aficionado. So I cannot leave this draft without taking a dunk contest moment. And my dunk contest moment, there's actually a lot. Like, I actually struggled with this pick. I'm going to take one. But I have to go with 2016, Aaron Gordon. A shame he didn't win. And for the people's vote, he won. He got the W. He got the W. But, Zach Lavine knows how to jump. He combined athleticism, creativity, something. People are always looking for something that hasn't been done. And Aaron Gordon just sprayed what hasn't been done all over the place.
Put the snake back in. Come on, Brian.
Sorry.
For everybody at home, it's past Brian's bedtime. We apologize for.
It is. All right, I'll hurry up. I was the one who said 10 o'clock. But the dunk specifically, where you have the mascot, he puts the ball in the hand of the mascot, and it starts turning.
Yeah, do the turn.
And then
do the
he
turn
starts,
yourself.
What do you say?
Never mind.
Spin.
I want you to turn for YouTube.
You want me to turn?
Yeah, you got a wheelie chair.
It's turning, and he runs up, grabs the ball under both legs, boom, behind dunk, and I think I passed out afterwards briefly. But when I came back to it, I watched it again, and I was like, that was probably the best dunk contest moment since I've been alive. So incredible.
That was spectacular.
It killed all dunk contests. Nobody's wanted to participate after the two of them. Just
and maybe has killed
we're
it
the
since,
peak of
but
what humans can possibly do. Like, we're gonna just
it was pretty amazing.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, my pick. I'm gonna go to another regular season moment here. For me, it is March 9th, 2009, and it involved the Bulls, but it's not the Bulls. It's Chicago at Miami, double OT. Dwayne Wade gets the ball half court with 3 seconds left, pulls up, bank shot for the win, hops on the table in front of the American Airlines Arena, does the chest bang, this is my house, and then turns it all over to LeBron subsequently a year and a half later. But I think for me, it epitomizes, a superstar run from the kind of 2006 to 2009, where we're going to forget how darn good Dwayne Wade was. He was a better all-around basketball player for that run in that point in time than LeBron in terms of what he would do. He just had a lack of support after that organization fell apart after their finals, right? The big threes started popping up. I think his athleticism, overall game, defensive, just masterclass that he could put on, plus the scoring, just natural scoring ability. He's kind of going to go down, in my opinion, as like a forgotten superstar, right? I think he'll be remembered, but just the level that he was at in that. And I think that was the epitome, even though it was two bad teams at the time, playing basketball.
I have an issue with this pick, if I could speak my mind for a second.
Of course.
We're going top 16 NBA moments, and you've gone 3 regular season moments.
Somebody's got to keep
You're
us
going to tell me
honest.
that a Dwayne Wade buzzer beater is better than any playoff moment you've ever seen?
No, listen. We're painting a historical picture here. We're painting moments that are important to us. I've felt
You got you jacked up.
I felt good about my 3 moments so far.
See, you know what, Alex, what you need to understand is Jacob's just a regular season guy. Like,
I'm a big
he-
dog days of the winter. Like, let
he
me.
doesn't care about winning.
Yeah,
He doesn't care about winning.
I want to grind some tape. I want to talk. That John Salmons was
Nah.
in this game. I think it was
talking.
what was his Nate Robinson was in this game. We had
Was
some
a legend.
we had some guys.
Yeah,
we had
he
some
is a
guys.
legend. He is a legend.
I don't know what was his name. Respect,
You're right.
Nate Robinson.
Yeah,
I was at the game when LeBron jumped over him on the alley-oop.
Oh, jeez.
I remember that. That was awesome.
Yeah,
Just-
that was
just
pretty
so you
sweet.
guys
That was
know-
actually on my list of potential moments, but I was like, it's too embarrassing for us.
Nate Robinson is still taller than me, so we can move on that note.
That's fair.
Mike, where are you at for number 4? Or Ian, my apologies.
Oh,
Ian,
wow.
I skipped.
That hurts. So
Send myself to jail.
again, maybe Alex, the czar of picking here, is going to be upset that I'm picking another off the court moment.
Unbelievable.
So I'm going to have 3 non-court moments, which is fine for me. Like I said, I'm obsessed with the stardom here, and my next moment, super memorable for me, is kind of when I finally came to terms with the next big star in the league, and that's Steph Curry. So I'm a huge LeBron guy, always a huge LeBron guy. I was kind of in denial about Steph Curry, to be honest. Like, I sound like Michael from like last week or the week before, but the threes were not doing it for me. I went to school in Indy, and all these white farm boys were just jacking up threes at the rec center. It drove me insane. I absolutely hated it. And I went to a Pacers Warriors game in 2012, and Curry just like casually dropped 38 points, 7 threes, and I was like, holy cow, like, all right, this is actually interesting. But he wins his first MVP in 2014, and the moment that I'm going to choose comes later in 2014 during the playoff run. And I love stories. Like, I watch so many sports documentaries. Like, I love the dramatization of, like, sports, and, like, you can't make this stuff up. Like, this is why sports movies, like, some of them are amazing, but real-life sports moments are just better than any sports movie. And for me, when Curry introduced himself to America as, like, I'm the next guy, was in the Western Conference Finals after Game 1 when Riley Curry gets on his lap during the press conference. That's my moment. Introduces himself to America on a huge stage, wins an MVP. He's got his adorable daughter climbing on his lap, doing like the shh thing, and she's like yawning, and he's like, I'm a family man, I'm the next NBA legend. And then he goes on to win the finals like 2 weeks later, and I was like, holy shit, like this is amazing. Like that's serious myth-making stuff. Like, it was just a different image of how I think of an NBA star that I hadn't really seen ever. And I loved it. And like ever since then, I've been obsessed with him. I literally bought a Curry jersey after they won that finals, and it was because of that. I thought it was really cool, and just seeing them do all kinds of activism and stuff like that, it's just been really cool as a family. So, yeah, that's my moment.
You like good guys, and Ian, I respect.
I do. I want to feel good. You know what I mean? It's like, this is my issue with the NFL. Like, I love football and I love the NFL, but I never feel warm and fuzzy with the NFL. Like, basketball can make me feel that way, and I love that.
You do really, like, after sitting on the couch for 6 hours on a Sunday, you feel very gross. So I can feel
Yeah, you like
I
you're watching
totally
Red Zone,
agree.
guy gets literally becomes an amputee, and you're like, all right, where are my fantasy guys at? Like, this is ridiculous.
Oh, I love that. So, I'm gonna go. Jacob, do I get 1 or 2?
Take us home with 2.
Okay. Oh, good. I'm gonna do the same thing as last time. One is a feat of athletic ability, and one is a moment, but also pretty featful, if you will. Dr. J's swooping layup under the basket. One side goes to the other, makes the prettiest layup that I personally think is still the prettiest layup to this day. It doesn't. I don't even remember the moment. Obviously, I've only seen it, in highlights. But that to me was like pivotal and like, oh, these NBA guys can do like extremely athletic things, and that was like a peak master performer at his powers doing the coolest thing I've ever seen. So love that.
I think like he was floating. Like that is a cool moment. We've all seen it, but yeah,
Move your
that's
arm.
always cool
Now
to
you
watch.
guys know wingspan to me is like defense to you, Brian. Like the fact that he can do that all the way around like the globe, the diameter of the world, and make it.
Arm extended. Yeah, it was cool.
Oh my gosh.
Shout out
He
to
brought
Converse.
Converse.
Yeah, you can only float like that in Converse, Dr. J.
That's true.
Back in the 70s.
And this one, I recognize before I say this that 1992 was also a great Olympic year, Dream Team. However, for me, this kind of includes that, but the last Olympics, like 4 months ago, where Steph did those four against France, did those four threes that I'm like, even the last one, I was like, Steph, that's not a great shot. And then he made it, and I just remember him looking at my dad and screaming. We were screaming. We were in the Wisconsin Dells with our family, screaming how excited we were. And I've been that excited in a long time. I thought it symbolized like, hey, this is the last time we're ever going to see the old guard or the current guard, Steph, KD, LeBron, on the same team, doing amazing things. They're still the best basketball players in the world. And then bringing it to the new guys like Ant, Tatum. I know Tatum didn't play, but Booker. And then kind of like the symbolization of going from the old to the new. And then I also loved that the rest of the world put up such a great fight. It shows that the 1992, that's the reason I didn't pick that, it was because that was the start of the worldwide phenomenon that is the NBA now. And this is where it's become. Like, look at like France, Canada, Germany, all these teams were Serbia, obviously, so many good teams. I really like that it's now in America. We have to work hard to win because our basketball is our sport, and we brought it to the rest of the world. So those are my two.
Love that.
Steph saves America. It's a great pick.
He does.
That was going to be my last one because I was going to really piss off Alex and do no playoffs of the NBA at all. But
that was a basketball game.
Goal.
That was a game that mattered, so I'm cool with that one. Go ahead, Jacob.
No, Ian's got the next pick.
Oh yeah. We'll cut that in post production.
So for my last moment, I am going to go to the court. Although I have one that's so stupid that I love.
Follow your heart.
All right, I won't do that one. Okay, I'll share it. I'll share it after this, just to see if anyone even remembers that. Okay, I'm gonna go with 2019 second round Eastern Conference. First buzzer beater in Game 7 history, Kawhi Leonard against the Philadelphia 76ers. You know, I picked a lot of off-court moments, and I do think that of all the on-court moments that we've talked about, some of which were on my long list, this one really just stands out as like I couldn't believe what I was like witnessing. Like, the drama played off so well, like the ball like bouncing around the rim, Kawhi like down in a amazing catcher's position, just unbelievable.
Embiid is balling.
Yeah, Embiid's crying. Ben Simmons doesn't even know his career's over yet. Like, there's just so much going on. Jimmy Butler doesn't know he's going to go on to greatness in South Beach over the next 4 years. Like, so much amazing stuff was going on there, and really just cemented Kawhi as one of the most frustrating superstars of the last like 10, 12 years. Like, it just is such a reminder that he is the guy, or can be the guy, and he hasn't been really since that run, for an extended period of time anyway. So, one of the coolest things I've ever seen on a basketball court.
It hung in the air for like 20 seconds, I'm pretty sure, right? It
Unbelievable.
Immaculate.
So my last one is, speaking of sports movies, I'm ready for the 10, 15 years from now when, you know, NBA is no longer popular in the limelight and all the real news starts coming out. I'm excited for the 2002 Western Conference Finals Game 6 documentary where we get the true story of how the league rigged it for the Lakers to make the championship. I went back and watched the moment. There's a couple of foul calls in the fourth quarter that are extremely questionable. The amount of free throws the Lakers took in that game is out of control. And it was one of those things that at the time, you know, all the discourse was, this feels weird. And then to know afterwards that, you know, obviously Tim Donaghy came out and was convicted, and he stepped out and said that the league asked them to you know, influence the game in a certain way. You know, I feel that those those two areas for me would have been I wish I was there. I wish I really was behind the scenes, understanding what was happening. And obviously, that Kings team was one of the more interesting Kings teams to look at back at some of the names. Vlade Divac, Hedo Turkoglu, Scott Pollard, going up against the marquee names of LeBron or of Kobe Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal. So I think that fourth quarter and that officiating, I think, is kind of going to be one of the more memorable moments when we look back at, telling the story of the 2000s in the NBA.
You've got your eye on the officiating. You've always got your eye on that.
Somebody's gotta. I'm doing the people's work.
Mm-hmm. I honestly didn't remember that, but I gotta go refresh myself. I mean, I know were a lot of those who were those? I wonder if how many of those were like Shaq versus other people. But
send you the link. Make the judgment of your own.
Yeah, I'd love to. All right, last pick. I wanted to have like a really well-rounded lineup of moments here. And I feel like something that's important to me is just effort and just like rawness to the game, because we just love the game. We're here to talk about the game because we love the game. And so one moment that I think is awesome, also funny, 2010 NBA Finals, Celtics, Lakers, big baby Glenn Davis in the post, dribble, back and pow Gasol down, puts in a layup. Lakers call a timeout. Glenn Big Baby Davis is just fired up, is just like running, kind of like skip hopping to like half court, just screaming, like full on, like mouth open. Nate Robinson jumps on his back, and you know when they go to commercial, they'll show a moment in like slow mo almost as they're like transitioning to commercial. So it's like Big Baby Davis, mouth open, screaming. Nate Robinson jumps on his back like he's his child or something, and as he's screaming, like he's just drooling like a waterfall coming out of his mouth, just like slowly like falling to the floor. And I'm just watching this, like, one, that's hilarious, but I was like, two, like, I just love it, like NBA Finals, like, big basket, like, let's just get excited, like, we don't need to hide it, like, let's take our pants off, Metaphorically.
Of course.
Yeah.
I think that's the only one that's been named so far that I definitely need to like go back and watch that because I don't recall off the top of my head.
Yeah, I actually agree with that.
Yeah, give that a little YouTube.
I don't even know what to put into YouTube.
I'm trying to stay off certain corners of the internet here, Brian.
Yeah.
Big Baby Davis working down an older man.
Here, I'll find it and I'll send it to you guys. I'll find it. Keep it out of your search history, okay, kids?
Hey,
stay safe out there, okay?
Let's let Alex make it to the finish here. Keep your
right,
naughty thoughts to yourself, Brian.
All right, Alex.
Yeah, I'm between two here. Yeah, I'm gonna go game one of the. Yeah, okay, game one of the NBA Finals, Bulls versus Blazers. MJ's on a three-point tear, and he hits the fans with the shrug.
Classic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like it's led to a lot of people doing the shrug. It led to, as we saw in The Last Dance, MJ's security guard hitting the shrug. It's led to people winning beer pong tournaments and hitting the shrug.
Scott does like doing the shrug.
Scott Alisco, yeah, shout out.
Don't worry, he doesn't listen.
He doesn't.
He's not listening there.
Yet.
And I mean, I wasn't alive / didn't watch basketball before that, but I like to think that the shrug led to a lot of individual players and their own personal celebrations. Like, I don't think without the shrug we're getting the night from Steph.
Or the shimmy. Shimmy before the night.
No, that's a bold take.
Yeah.
See,
I like it.
You got Ian's attention now. You got Ian's attention.
Well,
Okay, so
listen,
we gotta do a recap of all our picks.
kudos to everybody. Kudos to everybody. Well drafted. Well drafted. We can quickly go around the horn. Michael, why don't you start with your 4? Who ended up on your squad?
Wait, like my own? Just
Yeah.
recapping my own?
Yeah.
Yeah. I did the last Olympics, like the latest one. I did Dr. J swooping baseline layup. I did my whole 2009 Chicago Bulls Celtics. And then I did Klay Thompson's 60 points on 11 dribbles.
Ian?
I got the decision, Linsanity, Steph Curry's emergence as a superstar, aided by Riley Curry and his family. And then I've got Kawhi Leonard, buzzer beater. And really quick, the one that I wanted to take was the DeAndre Jordan hostage situation. Does anyone remember that? Just
I do.
amazing
Yeah,
epic
I
situation. I just
I do.
I couldn't insult myself. And the rest of you fine gentlemen, so didn't take it.
Oh, I wanted to also do ants, bring your ass, but I also didn't think that was gonna.
Oh, that
I
was
did like that though.
Alex, who was the squad?
Okay, so I had Malice in the Palace. I had Blocked by James, 2016 NBA Finals. I had Kobe alley-oop to Shaq against Portland in the Western Conference Finals, and then the MJ Shrug.
Bragak.
Let me just rattle off. Let me rattle off a few that you come back to me. Go ahead, Brian.
All right.
I did MJ 98 Game 6 Finals, game winner. 2021 Finals, Jrue, steal, lob to Giannis for the win. Aaron Gordon 2016 dunk contest, dunk under the legs with the mascot. And then Big Baby Davis 2010 Finals, just water falling onto the ground.
And I got Steph versus OKC in February, double bang game. I have the Derrick Rose obliterates Dragic, two-hand slamma-jamma with Stacey King.
Call me the dirt.
I have Dwayne Wade double OT game winner, and I have the officiating in the 2002 Western Conference Finals. What's it make the cut, Al?
So, Derek Fisher, Western Conference Finals against the Spurs, 0.4 seconds left, hot potato to win it.
Yeah. Ray Allen, similar shot.
Yep.
Yeah, Ray Allen in Miami.
I had the Ray Allen one coming up.
The Allen Iverson step over Tyronn
Yeah,
Lue.
I had that one.
Had that one on my list.
I feel like. Sorry, are there more? There's two that
I didn't see this
honorable
one, but
mentions.
Reggie Miller against the Knicks.
Yeah, 6 seconds.
Yeah.
It was 9 points. 6 seconds.
There's two honorable mentions I just want to bring up real quick. Similar to yours, Jacob, the D Rose dunk on Dragic, which like 10 years later they interviewed him and he still remembered that Dragic, which was funny, that dunk. But D Rose crossing up Andre Miller, basically sending him to the retirement home. And Stacey King on the call. I've fallen and I need help. That was hilarious. Like, that is so good.
Free
and then
advertisement.
the other one, Lillard 2019, I think it's the Western Conference semifinals against OKC. Logo 3 to win it, and he turns around, cold face, and just waves goodbye as his whole team just mauls him. Like, that was like, that was just
sick.
That was Dame time.
I had that one too.
Hey, this was fun. There's some good basketball memories in here. Just before we part, big Celtics, Cavs tomorrow. Cavs still
Big.
undefeated. Our favorite
Celtics.
NBA Cup action. Who do we think gets it done?
Celtics.
Is anyone on the injury report? Is Jrue Holiday playing?
Looks like
He's playing.
Looks like everybody should be a go.
I got Celtics in 4 quarters.
Good.
Boo.
I want to go with the Cavs just because I want to see it.
Yeah,
I want to keep seeing.
I got to stay on brand and take the Cavs.
I knew you were going to pick the Cavs.
Let's-
Like,
I mean,
I would have thrown money on that.
It would have been a good bet.
Joe Mazzulla's gonna break out the big league. Joe, I'm going Celtics.
He definitely watched The Town tonight. While we were recording this podcast, Joe Mazzulla was watching The Town.
Yeah, he's getting jacked.
That is a great film.
No, I mean, no. It'll be a good game.
Yeah.
Like I'm looking forward to it.
Well, thank you to everybody who listened. Hopefully, you got some giggles in with us tonight, and we'll talk to you next week on Below the Rim. Thanks all.